Hello, and welcome to our Career Hive podcast, right? I'm trying to remember what day it is already. Blimey, it's been one of those fantastic weeks. So what can I say? I think we're getting closer to the end of what is a Green Careers Week. And I think it's so exciting. And I've been in this space in terms of working with, how we raise awareness in careers and helping young people see what the world of careers looks like. And trying to get organizations to get involved with highlighting exciting aspects and opportunities within their particular career and their organizations as a whole. So to see this being, I believe, the first dedicated Green Careers Week is a massive step. And we know how much that means, right? We know their passions are running high when you consider what's been happening with the disruption of the M25, when you look at the data coming out on wonderful documentaries that take place every single day. And it definitely is a topic of conversation. And what's really, really exciting is, if you are a organization in this space, never has the time been as perfect as it is right now to be able to attract some really exciting talent into your organization, but also a talent that is going to be really, truly engaged in the good and the purpose behind the why. So, if I think about it from a hiring perspective, if I'm a company in that space, I'm really excited because I'm, the chance to really go out and really sell what we're all about, what we're trying to achieve, how we're going to go about that is to an audience where this is something that, that's on their topics and in their conversations. I think it'll be really exciting. So that's a positive for companies. I think for early careers talent, the level of investment, the nature of why this needs to be looked at and the opportunities available make this another exciting opportunity. So we open up that whole choices. So we were just looking back at some data as a team. There's 250,000 green jobs which have been created in 2020. There's over 90 billion pounds in investment. I believe there's a need to invest something like 1.4 trillion. Wow. Between 2020 and 2050 for us to reach that kind of net zero target. And if we just pick up one particular sector, and I think it's probably a crucial sector when we talk about the price of energy right now, the impact and the fracking vote that took place in towards the end of the last Prime Minister. You look at that renewable sector, energy, 12 million jobs forecasted in 2021. So again, it's really, really exciting, right? I think it's important, to understand what is the definition of a green job, because I think, there's a variety of sectors and industries of which this particular aspect or kind of industry fits into, or this week will fit into it. So think about agriculture, right? The sustainable farming aspect, how we grow our food, and how that food is processed, all those type of things, right? It's a big space in that area. The manufacturing, we know incremental change that have been taking place in that whole process. Talking to some organizations that we had a chance to talk to in our travels and engagement with customers is how big this space is. When you look at if you look at JCB, if I'm correct, where they actually developing and building electric forklift drivers, forklift trucks and all that type of stuff. Again, this just shows where we're trying to go on that kind of sector. I think R&D is a big space, the research and development into what is it that we can do across all these multitude of sectors. Obviously everyone knows about solar energy, etc. So I think when we looked at this, we kind of realized that this is a really big, wide sector. There's a legal aspect to that. There's a commercial aspect to it. So the accounting and finance aspect to it. There's the sales, there's the R&D, there's the production. So, the administrative side of it. So, there's a lot of opportunities that all kind of fit into this. So it's not just someone who can kind of have the technical nous. There's a lot of stuff that comes into play. So that's really exciting. We kind of looked at some stuff and we looked at it from let's look at early careers and let's understand what that means if I'm in that space as a young person. But most importantly, if I'm an organization, this is data for me that I need to know as I kind of design and map out my strategy. So I think there's a think tank report that I was reading by the Learning and Work Institution in conjunction with World Skills. And this is based around over in excess of 1,100 interviews taking place. So early careers talent, so you're looking at a 16 to 24-year-old who want to build a career in the green sector. However, and this is crucial, unsure which skills are needed, stands at 62%. So out of that sample of 1,100, 62% of them kind of want to build a career, unsure the skills are needed. So organizations, this is a big drive behind this. We had a meeting, a number of meetings with a couple of clients that are coming on board with us and keen to work with us. The conversation has been, how do we go to this kind of skills potential based hiring model, but also how do we identify the skills that are going to be needed for the roles that we need to come into play. And so we're excited, if you look at what Future Match is doing in terms of our development process around how we're going to support the career matching process, what we're looking at to develop as part of our kind of job fit skills assessment. We're hoping that all these type of things will help, because there's so many different aspects to a role and so many different skills that are transferable as well. So in this kind of stat shows the challenge that we have there, because there's a need for this early career talent to know, well, I want to go into that sector. What is it that I need to have, and how do we as an organization and the clients we're working with feed that into that particular talent we're targeting? What was even scarier, 63% had never heard of green skills and didn't know what they are. So again, that kind of links into the conversation that we just had. So as organizations that we're talking to, the need to get out there of, well, what does this look like, right? So as an opportunity, what does this look like? What are the skills that I need to do? And people who know me and know the story behind Future Matching and prior to that, that's the key thing that we're focusing on doing, right? Is how are we joining this dot? How are we joining these dots? Because there's two crucial dots, right? There's the skill, the requirements that organizations have, right? So when we're talking to clients and we're sort of saying, look, they're coming on board and saying, look, we want Future Match to come on board to support us in how we attract, how we engage, how we recruit and hire this early assessment and hire this early careers talent into our organization. And we're kind of looking out into the marketplace and we're saying, well, actually looking at how you've done this historically, those are not really landing with the target market that we're looking at, because they don't really understand, because you've gone really competency based, right? You've spent a lot of time looking at this from a competency base rather than looking at it as what are the skills that we need to do this role. Because when we're trying to bring that individual on board, we can train them. We can show them how those skills are if they have the basic fundamentals. So to think that 63% of early careers talent are unaware of green skills and didn't know what they were, that kind of is an important part when you consider that most of them want to come into play. 55% of them didn't know what green employers in the current market needed. Again, everything we talk about is skills, right? So there's this massive gap, isn't there? So, when we're designing attraction strategies for organizations and when we're drawing out the role personas and when we're working with them to kind of work out, okay, yes, you want to bring in 150 grads, you want to look at them as apprentices and you want to look at them mixed with the graduate program, and you're also looking at those who have got that kind of post 2 to 3 years experience, and we're doing that analysis. This has become a really central part of everything that we're doing as a strategy, to kind of say, listen, it's not what they have to do in the job, because we can evolve and develop that, as I said. It's actually what skills do we need in order for someone to be successful. So again, when you look at this kind of green sector, this is a big thing to think that 3 of the biggest challenges there are related to, we don't know, we want to build a career in the green sector. We're unsure of the skills. In fact, we don't even know what they are. And we don't really understand what you as an organization are looking for in terms of how we attract talent. So, this is an important thing to look at. When we look at it from the employer's perspective, from the same report, and they did about 1,000 again, 65% of organizations within the green career space are struggling to recruit talent, right? So that's 67%. So we've got here still be a deficit, right? There's 62% of that 1,000 of young people that we spoke to in 16 to 24 who want to build their careers in the green space. unsure of the skills that are needed, unaware of what the market is looking for. And then you've got 67% of businesses were saying, we simply can't bring the talent on board. So without making a sales pitch, the future match needs to come in, right? Because there's a bit of matching that needs to take place here. But on a serious note, there is a need here to kind of, for employers in that sort of space, to really kind of raise what they're doing and how they're engaging with that kind of talent pool. But it's not just employers as well. It's about what are we doing? What's the education piece doing as well, right? So if you are on a university program, if you are an A-level student, if you are a GCSE year 9, 8, 7, all the way down there, what is your school doing to enable you to understand what those skills are going to look like, what those opportunities look like, and how big this sector is? So again, it's the joining of the dots. That's really, really important. 26% of the organization in this report needed green skills. So again, it's like, okay, what are these green skills? Because clearly you want this. The talent pool that you are saying you can't get hold of want to know what you want. And somewhere along the line, we need to be able to develop these skills, right? And 33% of them will need them in the future as well. So there's that. How do we kind of build what we need, not only today, but look at what tomorrow also looks like? So a lot of work to do, right? But isn't it exciting? It's a hugely exciting sector. So I kind of went away and thought, okay, let's look at what these kind of green skills everyone's talking about. So, what was fascinating is we went from talking about, that kind of technical skill. So I'm assuming that it's about, it could be product development, it could be R&D, it could be the technical piece that's needed. There was construction, there was engineering, there's manufacturing, change management, leadership, and communication. That's fascinating, isn't it? Where there's a change management piece, there's leadership, and there's communication. Because if we look at here, the challenge of getting any kind of how can I put it, space to adapt to something new, there's a need for this to be taken into consideration. When you look at the fact that we're driving to net zero, but what does net zero mean if I'm an organization? What does net zero mean if I'm a consumer? And how do we communicate what we're trying to do as an organization to get that out there? Okay. To summarize, I think the challenge is absolutely clear in this really exciting sector, a sector that's growing, a sector that's going to mean so much more as we continue to move forward year on year. Companies seeking talent, there is interested talent, there's clearly motivated talent. So there's an opportunity here for you to kind of look at how you engage with that talent pool and really kind of get involved in that. So looking at some things here, there's a clear need clearly to raise awareness of careers. What are those careers in your organization? What are the skills that you look for? Again, showing that you have that adaptability, right? That you're hiring on potential and you're not hiring on competency. Map out career pathways, right? We're doing this with this organization where we're basically looking at, if I join this organization at this point, where does my career go forward? And what other options that are available? Because as I said to everyone, and we're saying this organization very clearly, remember that a career pathway, a career is something that's kind of evolutional. So yes, it's okay to show what it looks like. And yeah, if there is a point that you hit a ceiling, that's okay as well, right? Because that is the reality of how these things work. So your organization might not, we can only have one CEO, right? We can only have one, as the higher you go up, the kind of the tree, the more challenging it is to move into those roles. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you as an organization shouldn't show that, because that young person could potentially be someone who's happy in that. If they're not, they move into a different sector. Whatever happens, you're creating that environment of having talent in your sector. So career pathways are important. I talked about, partnership building, right? So really engage with education. I know it's hard. I know it's tough, but it has to be a strategy, right? As we say to this, this is experience, and this is kind of what we're doing with organizations right now around how we're helping them implement their early career strategy and managing that for them, is that actually you can engage with education, whether it's a college, whether it's a school, whether it's a university, whether it's your local job center. There's so many things that you can build in terms of partnership. But what you can't do is turn up on a Monday morning and say, hey, look, we've got 100 exciting career roles and we want to come in and talk to the young people about those opportunities. You wouldn't want someone in your business coming to the same thing, and vice versa. So, it's about how do we kind of build a strategy around that. There's a lot of hard work that needs to go into it, but the rewards are huge in that. I've also said in it, and this is slightly probably a change from, us specializing in early careers, and this is a tip for anything going forward. I'll be open-minded to career changes, right? Let's look at the diversity and range of skills required. How can we look at an opportunity to access that talent pool where we can retrain? When you think about one of the impacts of the pandemic, and we move away from the early career space, but into the kind of more mature end of the market or experienced hires, what you're finding is that there's individuals who've decided, actually, no, I don't really want to do this career anymore. And so therefore, they're really interested in moving into new careers because they've also got that moment of realization that actually, I didn't really enjoy what I was doing. So again, if you look at the skills that are required from change management, from leadership, from communication, etc., there's enough transferable skills there that could be utilized into these roles. And then from utilizing that skill set, you start to build that workforce going forward. Again, I'll keep on talking about this skills and potential hiring model versus a competency-based model. Don't have a rigid criteria, because the challenge is that, you're going to miss out on some really, really good talent, especially if you're targeting on that kind of early career space, high on aptitude and upskill. There's a huge opportunity where you can bring talent in and you can basically upskill that talent from different sectors, but also internal talent as well. So in summary, when you look at, the green careers, as I said, the opportunities are huge. The chances to kind of get involved in these sectors is massive. 250,000 jobs, some exciting companies hiring right across the board, so, there's a need for you because there's going to be competition, right? There's a majority of you looking to bring this talent on board. So your employer brand is important, market it, get it out there. The process, your candidate experience, how are you getting that talent pool to kind of work through the funnel? Go early, go hard. So, really trigger your early careers piece, right? I had this moment over the weekend when I was seeing my son and his friends all hanging out, and I'm thinking, blimey, it only felt like yesterday, just before the pandemic, and we were talking about, hey, you got 2 years to do your GCSEs. Now we're saying you got 6 months. Now we're having conversations about, what am I going to do for sixth form? Then then I'm automatically thinking, well, okay, we're having that conversation about sixth form. So technically in 18 months time, you're going to be either making that decision on whether you go to uni, whether you take a degree apprenticeship, right? So all of a sudden, this talent pool is going to be on the job market in some form or the other within the next 18 to 24 months. Now that's pretty scary, right? When you start to look at it in that form. So then imagine the same thing if you were talking about degree students, right? If you talk about those who've, I was talking to a couple of friends, children who started their first year and have already started to look at houses they're going to be in the second year. And I'm like, wow, it's not even Christmas. So that gives an idea that there's one thing that is moving quite fast, and that's time. So, it's about being proactive as an employer. It's about, don't look at it as, yes, you absolutely have, we're doing the strategy with this organization where you have what you need now, what you're going to need next year. And we definitely have to look at what does that look like. But you've got a 3-year plan, right? You want to recruit in excess of 1,000 hires over the next 3 years. So how are we going to make sure that we map that strategy so that we're talking to that talent, so that talent is in place in whatever space that you're looking at for it to be in play before then? Because when you look at it, there's that timeline is not that big at all, right? And again, invest in your career pathways. We'll really be happy to spend the time to show that this is what you can achieve within us as an organization, our pathways, but also add in what the sectors look like overall, right? So look at your sector in a whole, because again, you bring that talent into the overall sector, your overall sector and industry benefits as much as you do when you're bringing that talent on board. So, that's our tips on early careers in terms of what you can do within the green sector. I think there's really exciting jobs, and you can see this, some of the posts and some of the stuff we're talking about with opportunities and careers. There's a huge investment going into this space. So for talent, wow, exciting. For organizations, wow, exciting, and also scary because you've got to bring that talent on board. So look, I'm excited by this sector, and it's one that we'll be covering a lot, and we'll hopefully over the next few months be sharing some exciting things that we're aware of that are happening. They're going to be able to connect early careers talent who are interested in kind of going into this green sector. One of them is a really exciting investment that's been put forward by the government and the PEMD sector. There's the creation of the Electric Skills Hub, if I'm correct. That's going to be through Coventry University in conjunction with a number of prominent players within the kind of the PMED sector. So think about power electronics manufacturing drivers, and that's a huge sector, right? The investment in that sector around green, sustainable products and processes and everything else is going to be huge. So hopefully, when we get in front of that team, we'll definitely look to share and hopefully get a couple of them to come and talk to us about what they're doing again and how they're building that hub. So until then, if you want to test your green fingers over the weekend, please feel free. But in essence, remember, 250,000 jobs created in 2020 alone, and £90 billion investment. Then there's a need to invest over 1.4 trillion between 2020 and 2050 to achieve and reach net zero. Renewable sector alone, so thinking about the energy crisis and the impact that's having on us, there was 12 million jobs that were forecasted to be created. Wow, what a great sector to be part of. So hope that's all helped. And until next time, thank you very much.